Hey guys, just prepping some gear here. A couple things I just want to show you. Guys ask me every now and then, what rods am I using? What are my setups like? So I'll just give you my basic walleye Laker setups. I've been fishing a lot locally, so we're not talking monster walleyes, but up to probably 4 or 5 pounds is what we're seeing. For that, I'm just using a 31-inch medium. So there's no fish anywhere around here that you need more than a 500 series reel. So on these I have Siennas, Shimano Siennas. On my Laker rods, which I'll touch on in a minute, I bumped them up the quality just for a little bit better drag in a higher end reel. But a 500 series reel is all you ever really need for around here. What do I have on it? 10 to 12 pound Power Pro, depending on what, that's Power Pro ice, obviously it's blue. So depending on the size of the fish that you anticipated catching, I generally stick with 10. I think one Laker rod I have has 12. But on the business end, I go to a little tiny steelhead swivel and about 2 feet of 10-pound fluorocarbon. Now on the business end, and this is probably, it's more an annoyance to me than anything, but when I see guys with baits this big and snap swivels this big above them, it drives me nuts. There's no reason for it. If you want to use small stuff, tie direct. You're going to catch way more fish. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. Think about it. When your snap swivel that's attached to your bait is the same size as your bait, how appealing does that look to a fish? Maybe to smaller fish, but to quality fish, they're going to figure that out. They didn't get big being stupid. So just lighten everything down. That's a tiny little steelhead swivel. On the end of every one of mine is a fast hatch. See if you can see that a little bit better. So a couple different companies make these now, but they're on all my fishing rods. Just easy switch. If you do want to use one of these on your tiny stuff, that's fine. They come real small too, but get away from that big clunky stuff. It makes a big difference, and to me it just looks really bad. But yeah, so a 31-inch medium is what I use for, call them inland walleye. When I go down to Quinny, or Lake Trout, if you're up on, some of our Lake Trout lakes up this way. Another thing I can touch on, protect your rods and reels. So, yeah, we all use rod bags, but if you just take your rods and throw them in a rod bag without protecting them inside there, you end up with a giant rod knot. We use, like a rod glove type product in the summertime. So all this is a golf tube. You see these at Canadian Tire, $3 Canadian Tire. I put them on all my rods. I hold them all in elastic here, just over the one guide. But that prevents rod knots, and not that you break a lot of rods in the bags, but you can. So I use that on all my rods. Real handy, real easy to get on and off. It's not a big deal. That's it. So for your inland stuff, Lakers, or your Quinny rods, I use the exact same rod. So I bump it up to 36 or 38-inch heavy rod. It's still got quite a bit of backbone on it, but it's still got a tip for that deep head shake that, Lakers, you're for sure you're going to get. Walleyes, if you're in 25 feet of water, you're still going to get a bit of a head shake as well. So just it has a little bit of give on the back end. The biggest thing, so like I said earlier, I upgrade. Now we're up to a Sahara on this. Still a 500 series. Even if I'm fishing lake trout in 100 feet of water, this reel holds like 100 yards of line. So that's 300 feet of line. You're never going to get a lake trout in Eastern Ontario take out that much line. They just dog. They don't scream off. They're not salmon. So you don't need that big clunky reel. The reason I say 500 is it keeps everything nice and balanced. That's why I go to the smaller reel. Big giant reel on the end, 2500, unless you're using a Stratic CI4 Plus or something like that that's very, very light, your reel's going to be completely overpowering the rod, because you've only got a 30-inch rod or 36-inch rod. It's going to overpower it. It's going to make it unbalanced. It's going to make it uncomfortable to fish with. So 500 series reels, setting drags. I've seen, in the past week, I've seen rods broken. I've seen fish lost by drags being set terrible. It makes a big difference. Just make your drag set like this. That's all it is. That's not... Who was using my stuff? Birdie. Who? Glad that happened now. Whew. That would have sucked tomorrow. Anyways, that's how I set my drag. That must have been touched the heater or something. But set your drag. It's not tight, but it's not loose. And I never touch this. Once I hook a fish, I rely on the drag. I don't back reel. I don't do anything. That drag is flawless. That's never gonna let you down. So just set your drag loose enough that it's gonna take line if it needs it, but tight enough you can still move the fish. Makes a big difference to set your dragger. And don't crank it. You know, fish in the wintertime, they're generally pretty lethargic. They're gonna give you a little bit of a fight, but if you take your time with them, you're gonna land them every time. Just makes a big difference on hook sets that you're not ripping it out of his face, and it'll stay in there, especially at the bottom of the hole when it gets real tense at the bottom of the hole. So hopefully that gives you an idea what I do. I'm not saying it's 100% right, but I've done it for years, the same setups, and I may jinx myself for tomorrow, which would really suck, but I don't lose a lot of fish. If I stick them, they generally come up the hole. So hopefully that happens for you too, and we'll catch you soon.